Welcome everyone to Fett's Legacy. My name is Taryn, and I'm back today to talk about Chapter 3 of the Book of Boba Fett briefly. Obviously, guys, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the episode, please go watch that first. And second, please guys, if you can support me in any way, whether that's likes, comments, or just subscribing, that would help me out a lot, and I would appreciate it very much. So guys, let's get into this brief recap about Chapter 3. So, it opens with a Bulmar Monk walking across the screen. And if you guys don't know much about Bulmar Monks, they were monks who sought enlightenment so bad that they gave up their bodies entirely and are now just brains in little spider robot things. And I didn't think that they would be a huge part of the Book of Boba Fett, and they don't look like they're going to be. It would have been cool to maybe learn a bit more about them, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Maybe it will. There's still some episodes, but I doubt it. But yeah, so the Bulmar Monks actually used to be locked away under Jabba's palace by Jabba, and it was actually their palace. It's actually a monastery, and he took it over and locked them away. But I guess this means Boba Fett let them out, which would make sense with his character and how he is. So it goes on. Boba is getting briefed by 8D8, Jabba's torture droid, on how Tatooine was split up under Bib Fortuna's rule because he wasn't strong enough to rule all of Mos Espa, and that's obvious. Bib Fortuna was a weak character, and obviously not many people can have the power that Jabba did. Jabba ruled so much of Tatooine airspace, Hut space. He just ruled a lot of stuff, and he had a lot of power and a lot of money. So I guess it's hard to live up to that, but Bib Fortuna definitely wasn't even going to come close. So he's telling Boba that the Trandoshans rule the city center, the Aquilish took the Workers' District, and the Klatooinians took the Starport and Upper Sprawl. So I think in this next episode we will see the scene of Boba sitting down with all those species and discussing business. So yeah, and they all line the pockets of Mayor Mokshai's. So this is why I guess he has a bit of an ego and more money than you would think he should have. They were basically giving him money, and Boba's come in now like, who are you really? You're nothing to me. So, and we'll talk about him a little bit more later. But they then get interrupted by Lortha Peel, a watermonger, and he tries to pull one over on Boba and tells him that a street gang of cyborgs is stealing his water. So, he tells Boba, I will double the tribute to you if you can take care of these guys. And he makes them seem a lot more scary than they are and a lot worse than they are. So Boba quickly finds out that, this is no ordinary gang, and they're just kids pretty much. And they definitely don't look like they're from Tatooine. I definitely think that they probably came here maybe from the lower levels of Coruscant or something to find work. But Boba finds out quickly that there is no work in the Workers' District, and this man is charging insane prices for water. So Boba recruits them and tells them, if you want work, you can work for me. Lortha Peel comes out furious that Boba hasn't, taken them out, I guess. And Boba says, here's 500 credits. He was owed 1,300, but he said, get lost pretty much and cut your prices because that's insane. 1,300 for some water. So yeah, Boba is clearly trying to build an empire. I've said this before. He's trying to build an army. You can't beat a syndicate just with Boba Fett. So yeah, he's clearly trying to build up an army and recruit people on his side. If he just went around and just didn't like these people and just killed them, no one's going to be on his side, and he needs people on his side. So he recruits them, and we then cut to Boba in the back to pod with another flashback of Jango leaving, probably in Attack of the Clones. Love to see more of that. That's always nice to see. And Boba is riding a bantha to the city to talk with the Pikes about, their new deal, and they have to pay tribute to the Tuscans now after they took out the Pike transport. So we actually we see the Pikes talking to Boba, and they say, we're willing to pay you guys the tribute, but we're not going to pay it to you guys and the Nikto Rider gang. So yeah, so I mean, this basically sets up that they probably said that to the Nikto Rider gang and to Boba, and basically said, pretty much whoever lasts can have the money, pretty much. So, and I think they got the message first. I did want to say we actually do see Pelimoto in the background from The Mandalorian when he goes into the town, and this might be how Boba Fett finds Fennec Shand. As you know, he rescued her and saved her, and this might be his connection to that and how he finds Fennec Shand. So, yeah, so Boba goes back to the Tuscans, thinking that they're going to go and take out the speeder bike gang, but he arrives and the village is destroyed and burning. Many Tuscans are dead, including the chief, with the Nikto gang symbols on a burnt tent. So the thing is, though, guys, is we do not see the woman warrior Tuscan that Boba was bonding with. So she could still be alive. I wouldn't be surprised, and that would definitely be very cool. But yeah, we see pretty much everyone wiped out, and this was like kind of a throwback to Anakin's massacre of the Tuscan tribe in Attack of the Clones.
And not just the men, but the women and the children too.
And I know that obviously in that movie and previous movies, the Tuscans are seen as like mindless, crazy people, just killing and enslaving people. But this Tuscan tribe is different, and they're warriors, and we really began to care about the Tuscans in the show. I never thought we'd ever care for Tuscans in Star Wars because they were just seen as like I said, crazy, mindless, beings. And we started to care for these Tuscans, and clearly so did Boba, because as he lights their bodies on fire, and he places the little tiny gaffy stick of the kid, you can see he's very distraught and starts tearing up. And this was definitely an emotional scene, and it was a great scene. And so, it's definitely going to be hard for Boba. I didn't think we'd see them die this fast, but I did predict that, it's not going to end well for the Tuscans. And yeah, so it definitely sucks to see them die, but I kind of knew this was going to happen. But yeah, kind of cool throwback to Attack of the Clones and Anakin's, absolute massacre of them. And then so we see Boba is yanked out of the Bacta pod by Black Santan, and they fight for a bit, but Boba is woken up out of his sleep and unarmored and has no weapon. So the thing is, I think if Boba Fett was prepared for this 1v1 fight with Black Santan, fully armored and fully suited up and ready, I genuinely think he wins, because we've seen Boba fight Tuscans before in the comics. He's absolutely destroyed Chewbacca, and on his old armor, not on the new armor, but on the old armor, he had Wookiee hair braided on his shoulder. So he's killed many Wookiees, and I actually would back Boba to win this fight if he was fully armored. But at the end of the day, without his armor, he's just a man. So in a close-up fist fight with a Wookiee, no armor or anything, you're gonna lose. And he definitely got flung around and thrown and beaten pretty badly, but he got some shots in. He got the gaffy stick, stuck that in the Black Santan a couple times, but he's not going to last long against a Wookiee, especially a Wookiee of the caliber of Black Santan, who was a gladiator. And so some people are saying he's a little bit slow in this fight scene, and I just want to say Black Santan is more of a character about power rather than like agility. Like I said, he was a gladiator and he volunteered to be a gladiator, but they basically took him in and turned him into a slave. So I guess kind of a dumb decision by Black Santan, but yes, he's fighting, and then the cyborg crew comes in to the rescue and they're fighting him, but even they struggle against him. And at the end of the day, this is Black Santan, and there was 4 of them with cool gadgets and stuff, but Black Santan's going to win that for sure. And then the Gamorreans come, and Black Santan charges at them, and they can't even do anything to him. And we've seen that they're pretty good fighters, but Black Santan is that guy. Well, I guess he's that Wookiee. So you definitely don't want to mess with him. And like I said, he's slow because he has steel plates on his bones, actually, from the Zonti brothers, who basically own the gladiator arena and stuff. And the Knuckle Dusters that he had, that had like electricity on them, they are actually also a part of him. They're a part of like his bones. They don't come off. So he's heavily modified. He's not just a Wookiee. He's got steel plates and knuckle dusters on him, and that's why he moves a little bit slower. But he's all about power, and he was the best gladiator at the arena. So this is perfect for what his character would look like. It would be slow, lots of power, able to take on multiple enemies, and still come out alive. And so he starts whooping ass, and basically the only reason he loses is because Fennec comes in and traps him in the dungeon. And people are saying, why didn't you just go in there and shoot Boba? So basically, I'm sure he wanted to keep it quiet because it was probably requested by the Hutts to do it quietly because they didn't want to start a war. And they know, I mean, they didn't know about the cyborgs, but they know he has Gamorreans and Fennec. And if he goes in shooting up a storm, then they're obviously going to wake up. So yeah, he went in the middle of the night and tried to quietly assassinate Boba. But the thing is Blacker Santan is not an assassin. He's a gladiator. So he wants to prove he can destroy you in a fight. Even if it is a little unfair, he wants to fight you. And Wookiees are loud creatures, right? So his like stealthy approach, not really going to work for a Wookiee, but yeah, so he goes in and gets trapped. But he also knows the palace very well. He did work for Jabba for a number of years. So it's very easy for him to sneak in instead of just blasting his way in, because he knows the ins and outs of the palace. So, but the Hutts come back the next day and they try to make peace with Boba and give him a Rancor, and they say that they're leaving, but I think they will be back, and even Boba says they have a lot to gain from their enemies fighting each other, so I think the Hutts will be back. But still, Boba got a Rancor. I know I've already made a video about this and talked about it in depth, so I won't talk about it too much here, but very cool to see Boba get a Rancor. And, the Hutts clearly don't care about Blacker Santan, and they just leave him to Boba. So Boba frees him, as we've seen with his character. He's a little more forgiving, and I think maybe we'll see Blacker Santan back. I don't think this is the end of his character for the Book of Boba Fett. I think we will see him back, but maybe this time on Boba's side, because he spared him. So yeah, Boba then goes to see the mayor after doing a bit of talking with Danny Trejo and, with the Rancor. So he goes to see the mayor, he's not there, and his major domo makes a run for it. And we see, this is probably the most controversial part of the episode, and everyone's talking about it. The new cyborgs, like their speeders, the colors are very like bright and shiny. And the colors, honestly, like people are saying it's not Star Wars, but these colors are Star Wars. They're just not Tatooine. You know what I mean? Like, we could definitely see these on Coruscant. That would make 100% sense. Like, that would be perfect. But even the colors, it's not even just the colors, because if they were just those colors but toned down, I think they're just too shiny. That's all. But if they were just toned down, because green and red, like Boba wears green and red. If it's just toned down, then that's fine. Yellow, again, also Boba also wears yellow. Just tone it down, maybe not too shiny. And the blue, I mean, all of these colors are Star Wars colors. The Jedi lightsabers, and we've seen these colors everywhere on the planets and stuff. So these colors are Star Wars. I just think they're a little too flashy for Tatooine. But people are really complaining about it and making a huge fuss. I really don't think it's that big of a deal. Just the color of a scooter, like, not that crazy. But yeah, so I will admit that the chase scene is a little slow, but there is a really cool scene where one of the cyborgs crashes into a painting, and it's actually like a little Easter egg to some concept art by Ralph McQuarrie, and it's got Jabba and Boba in there, and Luke, and it's a really cool like throwback and a really cool thing that they added in there. I was definitely happy to see that. That was super, super cool to see. But yeah, like the chase scene was just a little slow, and people are saying like, why didn't Boba just fly over and shoot him? Look, Boba, like I said, is trying to make his own army, but if you're gonna make an army full of scrubs, they're not gonna do anything for you. So he's clearly trying to test them, see what they can do, because Boba could have just flown and just killed him, but he wants to see what these new cyborgs can do. And they got the Major Domo, so Boba pulls up and the Major Domo says the mayor's working with the Pikes. So then we see one of the cyborgs, spying on this new transport that comes in with a bunch of Pikes coming out. And Boba says, Fennec says they're coming for war. And Boba says we're ready. So I'm definitely excited to see these next episodes. This was my personal favorite episode. I know, like I said, the chase scene was kind of slow, but everything else we got in the episode was absolutely amazing. I loved the early scene with Boba in the streets, and I loved, obviously, the Tuscans dying. It is sad, but great emotion in the scene. Like, they shot it so well, and that was just so well done. And seeing Black Santan in action for the first time in not in the comics, obviously, in live action is absolutely awesome. And Boba got a Rancor. Danny Trejo is in it. So I thought this was a great episode, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the show has in store. But let me know what you guys think. And I think the next one is actually coming out tonight. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode, if you liked it, and what you thought about that chase scene. I understand it wasn't the best, but not a huge deal, really. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.